welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and today we got a fun topic ahead of us. We're going to talk about our yards and how we can make them more beautiful, more fun, more effective for wildlife. I have two guests with me, Jim Williams from the Virginia Tech Cooperative Extension as a volunteer now, no longer an agent, and Gary Holloway, a Hampton homeowner. So Jim, tell us about the yards program, and then we'll get to Gary and his yard.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Yards is an acronym for yards are really distinctive showplaces. And it used to be that the yards program was centered strictly on beauty, like beautiful yards. But then, and when I moved to Hampton, that was like 1992, 93, I started working with the yards program.
And let me interrupt you. Beauty kind of meant more like a classical garden or roses or just the way it looks, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
It was kind of like a formal garden. Oftentimes it was fairly high maintenance. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to take another look at it. This is about 93, 94, to take a different look and to then try to get people to incorporate more sustainable practices and integrated approaches to doing their lawns or landscapes. So that is, in theory, what the yards program is all about. It's a way of rewarding people for trying to do the right thing. So what it is we do the training in April, and a training of judges, yards judges. And then the judges go out throughout the summer and they select a yard of the month. And then that yard of the month, the yard of the month winners, from those people, the yard of the year is selected. And so that's pretty much the way it goes. The yards go from May, or at least they select a yard each month, from May through September.
So do people nominate themselves? Do their neighbors nominate? I mean, how do these judges know where the cool yards are?
Yeah, good question. All of the above is kind of like the answer. If you drive by and you see a yard and you think it's worthy of being recognized, then you just submit the application. You can call the extension office, the Hampton Clean City Commission, 727-1130. And they will send you an application. I think there may be applications at garden centers and all. You can nominate your own yard if you want, neighbor's yard. You don't even have to know the person. If you have a street address, they can use the city's kind of like property identification to determine who's living there and then send them that. They are under no obligation. So for instance, you may nominate a yard, that person may not necessarily want to participate.
Right.
So they don't have to.
So you check it out first.
They don't have to, yeah, right. But if anyone sees a yard come next year and they think, well, that's a beautiful yard, certainly go ahead and nominate it.
So Gary, how did you get involved? I hear you were nominated multiple times.
Well, a couple times in the last couple of years. So, no, I've just enjoy doing stuff in my yard and have had a lot of compliments on it, so I think that's how I got involved with this.
So tell us about your yard. You have a very large, comparatively.
Yeah, it's pretty good size. It's about 7,500 square feet. About a third of that is actually lawn and the rest flower beds. So
did you dig it up a little bit at a time? Like I keep encroaching on the grass, a little bit every year.
I did. I've kind of gone around the whole perimeter of the yard now and brought beds out, and some of them have been extended as time has gone on. Usually doing something a little different each year, or have a new idea, or.
And it really is your big hobby. I mean, when you told me how many hours a weekend you spend, I'm like, wait, do you sleep?
Yeah, I do enjoy it. So I'm out there about 15 or 20 hours each weekend during the warm weather. So.
Is it work to you?
Not really. Some things can be, but for the most part, I enjoy it.
Digging and weeding, not as much fun as some of the others.
No, I don't even mind that
really?
So much. If there's one thing I'm not so wild about, it's probably raking, but everything else I'm good with.
So tell us about some of the different features of your yard and what's worked well for you. I mean, this is all about me and my own yard because I'm looking for tips on how to make things better.
Well, I've kind of just done things that appeal to me, I have a lot of different features in my yard. If you walk into my backyard, the first thing you'll see is a bright yellow door that I have mounted in the yard. It has a flower box on it, a lighted wreath on it, and I've just kind of a little path going up to it. So that's one of the big features when you first walk into my backyard.
So you've got some whimsy going on
Yeah,
here. You're
I have a
having
lot of
fun
whimsy.
with it.
Yeah. I have a goldfish pond. I have a turtle pond. I have a water plant pond.
Oh, wow.
I have a miniature village.
Okay, so tell me more about the turtle pond. Like, how do you, I mean, I know you put, you can buy goldfish. That one's easy to me. But turtles, how did you do that?
Actually, it's just one turtle.
Okay.
I acquired a turtle, it's been about 10 years ago now, who was just a baby at the time. She's a red ear slider, which are the little turtles that were around when I was a kid. So I thought, oh, I'd like to have one of those again. Well, she kept growing and growing and growing, and last year she had gotten so big, I just couldn't keep her in the house anymore, so
you
decided to build her a pond.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got your goldfish, you got your turtles, and a water vegetative pond as
that I do a
well
lot
for
of.
water plants. And now I heard something about a fairy garden. Is that?
Yeah, I have a little miniature garden with some miniature shrubs in it. Have houses in it, little paths, all kinds of just little whimsical stuff. I like repurposing stuff, so a lot of the things in my yard I've picked up at yard sales or just whatever and fixed it up. And
Like the door. Now, what prompted that?
that was actually a suggestion of a friend. I was replacing some doors inside of my house and was going to get rid of this door, and a friend had saw a picture in a magazine of a door mounted in a yard and said, you really ought to think about doing this. So I thought it was a great idea. So
That's wonderful.
yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
So Gary, what are some of your favorite plants or things you've planted that have worked out really well in our climate and in your yard?
I guess some of my favorite shrubs have been like hydrangeas and gardenias, which I've had a lot of luck with. My yard's transitioned over the years, and I don't have as much shade as I once did. So
Well, that's what you said. Due to hurricanes and tornadoes,
Yes.
you've lost some of your
2
shade
years
and
in a
really
row,
had to
so-
rebuild.
yeah, so a lot of stuff got dug up and shifted, but my hydrangeas still do okay, and I have different varieties of them. Oak leaves and
Oh, yeah.
lace caps, a little bit of everything.
And gardenias, let me ask Jim, the professional here. There are a couple of varieties of gardenias that are hardy and that rebloom. Mine have been,
Yeah, sure.
blooming either twice a year or kind of sporadically all summer. They've been doing pretty well.
Sure.
Okay, what else works?
I have a lot of lilies in my yard. They're one of my favorites. So I have
Daylilies or true
I have
lilies?
day
Or both?
lilies. I have crinum lilies. I have Asiatic lilies. Several different varieties. So
I like those. I've had not as good luck with cannas lately. I don't know why. And I think my callas died off recently. But
Yeah,
I've been
callas,
experimenting
cannas.
with a lot of different ones. And I love that they, I like the perennials. If it comes back every year, that's a whole lot less work than having to.
yeah, I totally agree. There is nothing in the ground in my yard that is not a perennial. I like annuals, but I do all my annuals in pots. So that's kind of nice because you can just plant a big pot of them, and if they're not happy where they are, you just move the pot. You don't have to worry about digging them up. So try to look for things that are easy, not a lot of maintenance.
And you have a lot of water features in your yard.
I do.
That's complicated, but it's really good for wildlife, right, Jim? I mean, that's something that we
I think so, yeah. The water, well, yeah, for birds and all of that, but I think he's talking about the fish. Now,
You got to be careful with the birds and the fish.
True confession, I have not been to Gary's yard. What we usually do is when we do the training in April, we go visit the yard of the year winner from the previous year. So I'll be going to Gary's yard hopefully sometime next April.
Yeah, I wanna be
But
going to Gary's
whenever you
yard,
do
too.
a lot of native plants or water features and all, it's really good for
It helps.
pretty good for wildlife. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
your
I also
butterflies,
have
your-
several fountains and bird baths, tons of bird houses, so
Do you?
rain barrels.
Oh, rain barrels. We did one of those this year. I think that's worked out really well because it's in the back, and then I don't have to drag the hose nearly as far to water my back gardens now with the rain barrel. So do you do that? I mean, you have a balanced interest in nature where you've got some natives, some non-natives.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. I just kind of go with what I like and see how things are going to do. There's several things in my yard that I've planted and have not done so well where they were at, so I've dug them up and moved them and tried them somewhere else. One thing in particular, I have a camellia that I got, and it said to plant it in partial shade, so I did, and it was not happy. I think I moved it every year for 5 years. It's now in pretty much full sun and just thriving.
Camellias are tricky. I've had mixed success with them too. Sometimes they just take off and sometimes they struggle a little bit. Okay, any other gardening tips that you have?
Just do what you like. Weigh how much work you want to put into it because it is a lot of maintenance, and if you're not willing to put that in, don't do it.
Don't do it. Do simple things.
You can
keep
do
them
simple
in
things
pots.
and still have a great yard, you know, but
again,
it is a lot of maintenance. You've got to enjoy doing it.
More and more studies that come out every year that there's double benefits of gardening, and one is the physical activity because it's, you know, you're moving, your blood's pumping, there's some cardio there, but the other one is that connection with nature that I think a lot of people in our society are missing these days, and it just being in the fresh air, touching the earth, the green plants, you know, there's some benefits to that.
It's good therapy. I would say just, you know, I don't know how much time we have, but just in a short period, to say to people that whatever you do in your yard, remember they had a slogan, there was a slogan that I saw in Florida. It says, all property in whatever that particular location was, all property is waterfront property. And I think that's really true for our area. So what you do on your yard is in all probability going to have an impact upon the bay and the quality of water in the Chesapeake Bay.
And you're talking about paying attention to
fertilizer, the right plant, right place, you know, plants that are native or adaptive to this area. And reducing the use of pesticides, because all of that impacts life. It impacts climate change also.
Well, and the use of how much water your plants need. Because even if it's the groundwater, you know, we're in this delicate position in Hampton Roads where the land is sinking and the sea is rising. So if we can minimize what we're taking and put more back.
And you can have problems with the groundwater. But last week, I think it was, a week before, I saw an article in the Daily Press about groundwater and changing groundwater. And so that's being depleted in some areas also. So we want to be sensitive to nature and do it in a sustainable way. And I mean, I think that's the critical issue.
That is. And people who want advice on that can call the Master Gardeners and get some advice. They can call the Clean City Commission. I mean, there's a lot of groups that would help in terms of people making their choices. And our garden centers are pretty well versed on it, too.
The garden centers are. I think they do a good job. Cooperative Extension, that's 727-1401. And then Clean City Commission. And the information, the internet, if you're careful about it, the internet is replete with sites, but I would say go to sites that are connected with universities.
Well, and we have such a weird climate here. People who've moved from the north or from the south find that what they're used to doesn't work. And so having a local source for information, I think, helps as well.
Sure, no doubt.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and I can't wait to see your garden, Gary. I'm going to invite myself over. And Jim, thank you for your expertise and for keeping this program alive.
Sure thing.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. Remember that you can nominate a yard and that also you can participate. As we all improve our yards, it helps the neighborhood and the housing values. So there's a bottom line advantage to you for doing things like this, in addition to the environmental advantage. Thanks for watching.